They say the sea remembers every soul it claims. But what if you refuse to be claimed? 10 years, 10 blood-soaked years, fighting beneath the walls of Troy. But for Odysseus, the war was only the beginning. What followed was a nightmare that would make the battlefield seem like mercy. A 20-year odyssey through waters cursed by gods, haunted by monsters, and stained with the blood of his crew. This is not just a story of a hero trying to get home. This is a tale of a man who defied fate itself, who stared into the eye of a cyclops, who descended into the land of the dead, and who lost everything to gain everything. Welcome to the Odyssey, Homer's ancient masterpiece of horror, adventure, and the unbreakable will of one man against the wrath of the gods. Part 1. The curse begins. The Trojan War is over. The legendary city has fallen. Warriors who survived a decade of slaughter prepare to return home, to their families, to peace. But Odysseus, king of Ithaca, the cunning architect of Troy's destruction, will not find peace. He has angered the gods. As Odysseus and his fleet of 12 ships set sail from Troy, they don't know that Poseidon, god of the sea, is watching. They don't know that their journey home will become a descent into nightmare. First, they raid the land of the Cyclones. It's a fatal mistake. In the chaos of plundering, Odysseus's men ignore his warnings to leave quickly. The Cyclones regroup and attack. 72 men die on that beach, the first blood payment for their hubris. Then the storm comes. For 9 days, Poseidon's winds batter their ships, driving them far from any known waters. When the storm finally breaks, they find themselves at the land of the Lotus Eaters, a place of supernatural calm and creeping horror. Some men go ashore to scout. They encounter a gentle people who offer them lotus flowers to eat. But this is no ordinary fruit. Those who taste it lose all memory, all desire, all will they forget their homes, their families, their very names. They want only to stay and eat lotus forever, trapped in blissful oblivion. Odysseus must drag his drugged men back to the ships, tie them to the masts as they weep, and beg to return to that terrible paradise. The Odyssey has truly begun. Part 2, the Cyclops and the Curse. Next, they come to an island of the Cyclopes, a race of one-eyed giants who know nothing of civilization or mercy. Odysseus and 12 men enter a massive cave, hoping to find hospitality. Instead, they find themselves trapped. The cave's owner returns, Polyphemus, a towering monster, son of Poseidon himself. He seals the entrance with a boulder no human could move. Then, as Odysseus watches in horror, Polyphemus grabs 2 of his men, smashes their heads against the stone floor, and devours them raw. Blood, bones, and all night after night, the Cyclops feasts on Odysseus's crew. But Odysseus is not called the Cunning for nothing. He offers the giant wine, powerful, undiluted wine that no mortal can handle. Polyphemus drinks deeply and asks Odysseus his name. "My name is Nobody," Odysseus lies. When the giant falls into drunken sleep, Odysseus and his men take a massive wooden stake, sharpen it, heat it in the fire until it glows red, and drive it deep into the Cyclops' single eye. The cave fills with screams of agony. Other Cyclopes hear the screaming and come to the sealed cave. "Who's attacking you?" they shout. Nobody is attacking me," Polyphemus roars. The other giants leave, thinking their brother has gone mad. In the morning, when Polyphemus rolls away the stone to let his sheep out, Odysseus and his surviving men cling to the undersides of the sheep and escape. But as they sail away, Odysseus makes his fatal mistake. His pride overtakes his cunning. He shouts back his real name, boasting of his victory. Hippolymus, blind and raging, calls out to his father Poseidon, "Curse Odysseus, let him lose all his men, let him return home late, broken and alone." The god hears his son's prayer. The curse is set. The true nightmare begins. Part 3. Islands of Death. They come to the island of Aeolus, keeper of the winds. The god takes pity on Odysseus and gives him a leather bag containing all the adverse winds, leaving only the gentle west wind to blow them home. For 9 days they sail toward Ithaca. Odysseus can see the smoke from his island's fires. Home is within reach. But while Odysseus sleeps, exhausted from steering the ship for 9 straight days, his men make a terrible choice, jealous, suspicious. They believe the bag contains gold that Odysseus is hiding from them. They open it. All the winds explode out at once. A supernatural storm hurls the ships backward, away from Ithaca, far out to the realm of the Laestrygonians, cannibal giants. The giants rain boulders down on the fleet, smashing 11 of the 12 ships, spearing men like fish. Thousands die in minutes. Only Odysseus's ship escapes. Of all his fleet, only 1 ship and 45 men remain. Devastated, they come to Aiaia, the island of Circe, a sorceress of terrible power. She invites half of Odysseus's crew into her palace and serves them a feast. But the food is drugged with her magic. As the men eat, they begin to change. Their hands become hooves, their faces stretch into snouts, bristles sprout from their skin. She has turned them into pigs. Only one man, Eurylochus, witnesses this horror from outside and runs to tell Odysseus. The hero must confront Circe alone. But the god Hermes appears and gives him a magical herb called moly that will protect him from her spells. When Circe's magic fails against Odysseus, she recognizes him as the legendary hero. She agrees to restore his men, but only if Odysseus stays with her. He has no choice. 1 year passes in Circe's palace. 1 year while his wife Penelope waits in Ithaca, believing him dead. Finally, his men beg him to leave. Circe agrees, but she gives him devastating news. Before he can go home, Odysseus must sail to the edge of the world, to the land of the dead. Part 4. The Underworld. They sail to the end of the earth, where the ocean meets the void, where the sun never shines. Following Circe's instructions, Odysseus digs a pit and fills it with blood, a sacrifice to summon the dead. They come. Ghosts rise from the darkness, pale, hollow, desperate for the blood that will give them temporary voice and memory. Odysseus sees his own mother, Anticlea, who died of grief waiting for him. She tells him of Ithaca's suffering. Suitors have invaded his palace, devouring his wealth, pressuring his wife Penelope to remarry. His son Telemachus grows up without a father. Odysseus weeps, reaching for his mother's ghost, but his hands pass through her like smoke. He speaks with Tiresias, the blind prophet, who tells him his fate. He will reach home, but he will face horror there too. He must kill all the suitors, every one of them, in a bloodbath that will stain his palace floors red. Then come the heroes of Troy. Agamemnon, murdered by his wife upon returning home. Achilles, who regrets choosing glory over life. Ajax, who died by suicide and refuses to even speak to Odysseus. The dead surround him, crowding closer, reaching with translucent hands. Odysseus flees back to his ship and sails away from that terrible shore. Part 5. Monsters and Sacrifice. Circe warns them of the horrors ahead. First, the sirens, creatures whose song is so beautiful, so hypnotic, that sailors throw themselves into the sea and drown trying to reach them. The shores around their island are piled with the rotting bones of victims. Odysseus has his men plug their ears with wax, but he orders them to tie him to the mast so he can hear the song. As they pass the island, the sirens sing of glory, of knowledge, of everything he desires. Odysseus screams to be released, fighting against his bonds, but his men row on. Next comes a choice: Charybdis or Scylla. Charybdis is a whirlpool that swallows entire ships. 3 times a day, Scylla is a 6-headed serpent monster that lives in a cliff above the narrow strait. Each head will snatch 1 man from the ship. There is no way to pass without loss. Odysseus chooses Scylla. He doesn't tell his men. As they row through the strait, 6 heads strike like lightning. 6 men are torn from the deck, screaming. Dangling from the monster's jaws, Odysseus can only watch as Scylla drags them into her cave to be devoured alive. Finally, they reach the island of the sun god's cattle. Circe and Tiresias both warned, "Do not touch these cattle." But they are stranded by storms for a month. Food runs out. While Odysseus prays to the gods, his starving men make a fatal decision. They slaughter the sun god's cattle and feast. The god Helios demands vengeance. Zeus agrees. When they finally set sail, Zeus sends a lightning bolt that obliterates the ship. Every man drowns, every man except Odysseus. Polyphemus' curse is complete. Odysseus has lost all his men. Alone, clinging to wreckage, Odysseus drifts for 9 days until he washes up on the island of Calypso, a beautiful nymph who makes him her prisoner. She offers him immortality if he'll stay with her forever. But Odysseus refuses. He sits on the shore every day, weeping, staring at the horizon, yearning for home. 7 years pass. 7 years of captivity in paradise. Finally, the gods intervene. Athena convinces Zeus to order Calypso to release him. She gives him materials to build a raft, but Poseidon has not forgotten. The god sends one final storm that destroys the raft. Odysseus, battered and broken, swims for 2 days until he reaches the land of the Phaeacians. There, he tells his entire story to the king, who is moved by his suffering and provides him with a magical ship that finally carries him home to Ithaca. He arrives disguised as a beggar. His palace is infested with 108 suitors who have spent years devouring his wealth and harassing his faithful wife, Penelope. She has remained loyal, stalling the suitors with tricks and promises. With the help of his now-grown son Telemachus and the goddess Athena, Odysseus reveals himself. In a legendary massacre, he slaughters every single suitor with arrows, sword, and spear. The palace halls run red with blood. The nightmare is finally over. After 20 years, 10 fighting at Troy, 10 struggling to return, Odysseus is finally home. Penelope tests him with a question only the real Odysseus could answer about their bed. When he answers correctly, she knows. The hero's Odyssey is complete. The Odyssey is more than an adventure story. It's a meditation on suffering, loyalty, cunning over strength, and the cost of pride. Odysseus survives, not because he's the strongest warrior, but because he never stops fighting to return home. In a world ruled by gods and monsters, one mortal's will to survive becomes legendary. This is Homer's Odyssey, a story that has survived 3,000 years, because the human heart still understands what it means to be lost, to suffer, to sacrifice everything for the people we love. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this journey through classical literature, please subscribe for more legendary tales brought to life. Until next time, may your own journey home be swifter than Odysseus's.